Hello, and welcome to Spirit Travels, where we narrate the extraordinary experiences of people who have glimpsed the other side of death. My name is Maureen, and I will be your narrator on this journey. If you enjoy this content, please make sure to like and subscribe to support our channel. Now let's begin. Hi everyone. Today's NDE is by Malcolm, and I just wanted to preface this by saying this is actually an excerpt or a couple of excerpts of a much longer experience that can be found online if you're interested. I will make sure to put a link in the description below. I must admit that at the time the whole thing sounded very weird, simply too far-fetched to be true. Crazy stuff that has its origin in a psychiatric ward. But sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. Why spurn an idea simply because it seems strange to you? So, as per Tom's instructions, I remained all ears. Then he spoke at length about the new body in which I was functioning. He called it the spirit body, and that many mystics and mediums on earth know all about it, applying various names to it over the years. Some like to call it the astral body, others prefer the light body or the subtle body, or even the soul itself. It doesn't really matter what label you apply to the spirit body. It's simply the body or the vehicle of consciousness in which people function after death. I have come across many books on the subject of life after death that describe a faint silver cord connecting the physical body to the spirit body. And once the cord is severed, there can be no coming back. However, I never witnessed the connecting silver cord, not when I left my body nor when I returned to it. I've also read somewhere that there are two threads attaching the spirit body to the physical body, namely the life thread and the consciousness thread, although neither were described as silver in color. As far as the author was concerned, the consciousness thread withdraws temporarily from time to time during the process of illness and withdraws permanently in the process of passing away. But if the life thread remains connected, the body remains animated and alive. The authors of these books may indeed be correct. Some claim that the cord is very faint and can be difficult to see, but Tom never spoke about the silver cord, nor the consciousness or life threads, other than to say that I was still connected to my body in the ICU. Exactly how, he did not say, just that I was connected. Not once did he elaborate on how I was actually connected to my body. Accordingly, as always, I have decided to stick to the facts and left the trimmings alone. Although I no longer had a physical body, I did have a body that looked very much like me. My consciousness had shifted from my physical brain into the body that I now occupied. My new body felt relatively solid, yet much lighter than my physical body. I had no idea that my spirit body even existed until I met Tom. It had the appearance of my physical body and felt solid enough to me. Of course, I knew that my physical body formed inside my mother's womb, but what I didn't know at the time was where my spirit body came from. Tom informed me that I was born into the physical world with a spirit body, and that my physical body is merely a temporary body that encloses my spirit body while I'm here on Earth. He went on to say that it has existed within the periphery of my physical body from the moment I was born in 1962, and has always assumed the exact same form of my physical body, even as the latter grew in size and changed shape over the years. The exact correspondence, he said, was purely a matter of form and did not involve the functionality of biological organs. I looked down upon myself and clutched my wrist. Sure enough, it appeared clearly defined and certainly felt tangible. My spirit body had retained my accustomed earthly form, so I still looked very much like me, and I definitely felt solid to the touch. Although I no longer had a biological body, I did have a body that looked exactly like me. I glanced down at my clothes and grabbed my t-shirt. It too felt real and tangible. Just to make extra sure, I stomped a foot on the floor, and sure enough, I felt the resistance of solid ground beneath it. Indeed, my spirit body looked and felt solid, and so did the world around me. When I entered the spirit world, that is, at the moment I left my body in the ICU, my new body resembled a three-dimensional copy of my physical body. The spirit body is a counterpart of the earthly body. When people enter the spirit world, they remain recognizably themselves, but they leave behind all their physical disabilities. They regain their full complement of teeth, hair, and limbs. All 5 senses become fully functional and more acute. Any abnormal conditions of the physical body, such as immobility, blindness, deafness, obesity, and emaciation, disappear. All biological imperfections on the surface of the body, such as birthmarks, age spots, scars, moles, warts, and tattoos, vanish away. Every person preserves their natural characteristics after death. People appear exactly as they would have appeared on earth, had earthly reasons not caused them to appear otherwise. I asked Tom if the age of a person's death affects their appearance after death. His answer surprised me in a very pleasant way. He said that there is a stage in life on earth which is known as the prime of life, and it is to this stage that all people gravitate one way or the other. The elderly return to how they looked in the prime of their life, while the young advance toward that period. Actually, if I may say so, at the risk of sounding conceited or vain, I really enjoyed the sensation of looking young, fit, and healthy once again. And I'd suggest most people would be very happy with that scenario. To be perfectly honest, I can't think of too many people, if any at all, who would not choose to dispense of certain irregularities of their bodies with which they may have either been born or acquired through the course of their lives. Who wouldn't want to make an improvement or two to their physical body, which was not possible beforehand for one reason or another? Superficial physical characteristics are preserved after death, such as the shape and color of your eyes, the tone and complexion of your skin, and the shade and texture of the hair. People retain their external distinctions. Hair and nails exist purely for aesthetic purposes and never need brushing, cutting, or clipping. It may seem a bit odd to you that a spirit person should have nails and hair, but how else would you want them to look? No different from ourselves in this respect, don't you agree? We would look like something out of a horror movie, a revolting spectacle without our usual anatomic features and characteristics. Why would you want to look like an alien? No hair, no nails, no eyebrows, and no eyelashes? No thanks. What may seem like an elementary statement is sometimes necessary to voice. Anatomically, however, in many ways, the spirit body is very different to the physical body. When people die and move into their spirit bodies, their biological organs, which have become superfluous to their new way of life, are shed along with the rest of their physical body. Anatomically, the spirit body has muscles and bone and sinew, but they are not of the earth. They are purely of a spirit nature. And like the physical body, the spirit body has vocal cords and a tongue. Other than that, its internal organs are very different to biological organs. Unlike the physical body, the spirit body does not have a brain or nerves or a cardiovascular system. It does not have any biological organs at all, such as those associated with digestion, excretion, urination, filtration, reproduction, or immunity. No brain or central nervous system. No esophagus, stomach, liver, or intestines. No reproductive organs, no glands, pancreas, or spleen. No kidney, no bladder, no urinary tract at all. No wonder I felt so light, for I was literally a shell of my former self. Tom spoke at length about the spirit body, and I learned many things about it in a relatively short period of time. My ability to retain knowledge was far greater than it ever was on Earth. I learned that the spirit body slowly wears away, as does the physical body. But instead of going through the process of eating and digesting food, the particles of the spirit body that fall away are replaced by other particles from the surrounding atmosphere. Malnutrition of the body cannot exist in the spirit world, but spiritual malnutrition most definitely exists. The spirit body's particles have the capacity to instantly act in the immediate best interest of the spirit body, in accordance with whatever function is required at the time. It self-regulates constantly and maintains a healthy status quo at all times. Unlike the physical body, it cannot become fatigued, so it never requires the need to sleep or rest, nor can it ever feel hungry or thirsty. Therefore, it never needs food or drink. It doesn't perspire or give off unpleasant odors, and because the temperature in the spirit world is always perfect, it never needs to be covered by layers of clothing to keep it warm. Although most choose to wear either earth or spirit clothes. It requires no maintenance at all. It cannot suffer pain. It is not subject to illness and disease. It cannot lose its hair, teeth, or limbs. It can never become fragile or impaired through old age or accident. The need to take care of others with physical disabilities never arises. The spirit body is indestructible and absolutely incorruptible, functions perfectly all the time, and can never become cancerous. It is beyond any form of harm. No bacteria or virus can attack it. No destructive force can hurt it in any way. It resonates constantly under all conditions at the normal healthy rate. And so it is all the way through the entire spirit body. In other words, unlike the physical body, the spirit body does not need constant looking after to remain perfectly healthy. Nothing bad can ever happen to it. Spirit people can simply forget about maintaining their bodies, freeing them to get on with whatever they choose in their lives. On Earth, people are constantly reminded of their physical bodies in many ways, such as hunger, thirst, fatigues, aches, pains, illnesses, and variations in temperature. There's nothing in the spirit world that could ever create pain or discomfort. The spirit body is immune to anything destructive. You can forget about taking care of your new body and enjoy the thousands of delights that the spirit world has to offer. Indoors and outdoors are the same to the spirit people. There's never a change in the weather. There are no recurrent seasons like there are on Earth. The great central source of light forever shines upon the spirit world. It is always delightfully warm. Spirit people never feel the need to exercise to get their blood circulating. They never want anything at all, and the spirit world is theirs to enjoy and wander through as they please. Many people on Earth have wondered what it feels like to be a spirit person. Spirit people don't feel shadowy or like ghostly people, but in many ways they feel very much like people on Earth. They look like Earth people. They're capable of feeling and expressing their emotions. They're capable of critical thinking and grasping concepts just like Earth people. They like to laugh and generally enjoy themselves. The answer, however, can be best provided by asking yourself, what does it feel like to be an Earth person? Firstly, let's consider the physical body. It gets tired, for which a period of rest is essential to regenerate it. It gets hungry and thirsty, and it must be provided with food and drink, or it will fall ill and eventually cease functioning. It can suffer pain and discomfort and is prone to a wide variety of illnesses and diseases. It can lose its limbs and its senses can be impaired. People on Earth can become blind or deaf. They can be born without either or both of those senses. The brain may become damaged, resulting in a range of insane behaviors, and or the person may need to be taken care of by others. Anyone on Earth can be the victim of a disability. In fact, from a spirit person's perspective, 3 disabilities occur on a daily basis to every person living upon the Earth. Namely, hunger, thirst, and fatigue. In other words, if you eliminate every disability that I have mentioned, as well as those that I have not mentioned, you should begin to have an idea of what it feels like to be a spirit person. Secondly, let's consider the mind. Learning and retaining knowledge is so easy in the spirit world. The minds of those still on earth are limited by the physical brain. In the spirit world, people have no brains to limit their minds, so their minds are completely retentive of all the knowledge that comes their way. Nobody ever forgets anything that they have learned, whether it be life experiences or simply plain facts. But of course, it does take the time and effort to learn new things. The mind of a spirit person is not continually filled at random by a constant stream of miscellaneous thoughts and impressions. Their minds retain every last detail concerning themselves and the world around them, arranged in an orderly manner, and nothing is omitted. Everything is always there for them to turn to, always at their fingertips, and they simply recall whatever they wish. They're not continuously bothered by all the other events and circumstances of their lives, but they can recall whatever they like, whenever they like, and wherever they like. As I spoke with Tom, I felt absolutely fantastic, without a worry or care in the world, not the slightest hint of anxiety or discomfort. After all, I was in heaven, literally speaking. That wonderful feeling of love and acceptance that filled me when I stood before the light at the end of the tunnel had not faded in the slightest. Never before had I felt so free and unrestricted, light as a feather, as though I had no body at all. My mind had become as clear as day, fully alert. This wholesome feeling of perfect health of both body and mind is impossible to experience on earth, and therefore defies a description in purely earthly terms. You will need to actually experience it for yourself, which you surely will one day when your time arrives, to truly grasp how good it felt. Imagine feeling happier than you ever thought was possible. To say that my mind was as sharp as a tack would be a gross understatement. My mind had become an abundant warehouse of facts concerning my earthly life. I became aware of everything I had ever done. Every word I had ever spoken, every bit of knowledge that I'd ever acquired, and every event that I'd ever witnessed were all permanently imprinted in my subconscious mind, and I could recall all of it. On many occasions on earth, I've not had the ability to recall something in my memory, but in the spirit world, I could remember everything instantly and effortlessly without fail. The subconscious mind forever retains every detail of every event and never forgets anything. Its recordings can never be erased. They are there for eternity, for spirit people to access as they wish. But their past never haunts them. Since awakening from my coma in 2006, I have read thousands of near-death experiences, or NDE, reports, in order to better help me understand my own. Some have been described as negative events and not well received, but most have been described as positive and enlightening events. Many of these reports contain descriptions of encountering a body of light, often at the end of the tunnel, that fills them with an undescribably good feeling of unconditional love and acceptance. That's how I felt throughout my entire time spent in the spirit world. That's about the best I can offer at the moment, but it's a start. One day you will find out exactly how good it feels to be a spirit person. In the meantime, until your death hour comes to pass, may I suggest that you read other NDEs that describe an encounter with the light, which will give you some idea of just how good spirit people feel all of the time. After briefing me on the characteristics and workings of the body, of the spirit body, Tom moved on to the spirit world itself. He said that relative to Earth, providing a precise geographical position of the spirit world would be a difficult assignment for him, because the spirit world is infinite. He went on to say that the spirit world stretches out into infinity as it eventually overlaps other planets and solar systems, galaxies, and so on. However, he did provide me with a fair idea of its relative location. The spirit world that is part of it, that people of the earth experience after death, exists within a giant bubble surrounding the earth and can be understood as an extension of the earth itself. It exists all around the earth, but also extends into the atmosphere with its outer limit extending well above the earth. Tom mentioned something very interesting regarding the shirt and jeans that he was wearing. He said that he wore them especially for me. For had he been wearing what he usually wore when we first met in the hospital room, I would have, in all probability, thought that he was a forewarning messenger or even the angel of death himself. That would have scared the living daylights out of me. For some people, being greeted by an angel with wings would be the perfect welcoming. For others, it would be scary as hell, fearing that they're about to be taken to a celestial courtroom to await God's judgment. Helpers take on an appearance best suited to the needs of the dying person. The whole process of helping the dead is designed to be as normal and natural as possible. Helpers present nothing of an angelic appearance. That may terrify a newcomer. The angel of death is just one of the strange ideas that exists in the minds of some ignorant people on earth. Tom went on to say that he had been present at many deathbeds over the years, but had never encountered this strange creature. The purpose of a helper such as Tom is to calm the fears and induce peace in the minds of newcomers, so that anything that could obstruct their paths is eliminated. When I met Tom, he was dressed in earthly attire, and I was similarly dressed. Tom normally wears his spirit clothes when he's in his own sphere, but if he had met me dressed in such a manner, I'm convinced it would have frightened the hell out of me. But to see him dressed in a casual earthly clothes immediately served to calm and reassure me. In the modern day, women are very well represented among the fraternity of the helpers, but in days gone by, helpers were mainly men who were clergymen when they were upon the earth. I asked Tom if he could please explain why I too was dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. The garment that I was wearing when I left my physical body was one of those ghastly hospital gowns that leaves your backside hanging out of the back of it, no matter how securely you tie the damn thing. His answer surprised me. He said that when we first met in the intensive care ward, I had just realized that I was functioning outside of my body. That was when the thought of nakedness crossed my mind, and with that thought came the clothing that I was wearing. In the spirit world, as you think, so it is. I never consciously put on any garments. That was just my sense of need, and the need was supplied. Tom suggested that it would be quite a good idea to discard our earthly clothes and replace them with the appropriate attire before heading out. Naturally, I had no idea what to expect, but when in Rome, I believe in doing what the Romans do, so I accordingly agreed. Instantly, my earthly clothes faded away, and I was dressed in a long, colorful robe in shades of pink and blue that reached all the way down to my ankles. It is difficult for me to accurately describe my robe because I'm unable to compare it with any material or fabric. There's no fabric like it on earth. It felt very comfortable to wear, but initially I felt awkward and self-conscious. Not because of the sudden change in my external appearance, but I'm a typical jeans and t-shirt man and had never worn a white bathrobe before, let alone a full-length designer robe made out of luxurious fabric in various shades of pink and blue. Tom sensed my uneasiness and assured me that it was perfectly natural and congruous with the dress code for this level of the spirit world. We arrived at the top of a hill. To the left and right, all I could see was beautiful, unending countryside with clusters of elegant houses scattered here and there, some surrounded by trees, others in open ground. Tom told me that inhabitants of this sphere lived in the houses, but not everyone here lived in a house. Some people didn't feel the need to live in a house, and therefore didn't have one. The light always shines brightly in this part of the spirit world. There are no winds. It doesn't rain and never gets cold. They don't require protection from the elements of the earth. It's always the same comfortable, warm conditions, and there are many peaceful and secluded areas to visit, providing all the privacy and solitude that anyone could need. We walked along a grass path and past a lake that sparkled in the brightness of the sun. But there was no sun up above. An overall brightness permeated the entire sphere. I felt compelled to walk to the lake's edge to dip my hand into it. Expecting to feel a relatively cold sensation, I was surprised to find that the water was pleasantly warm and inviting. It seemed to energize me. I felt a noticeable stimulating effect that reached all the way up to my shoulders, as if the water was recharging my battery. If merely dipping my hand in the lake provided such an exhilaration of a sensation, what, I wondered to myself, would it feel like if I took a swim in it? Tom noticed my fascination with the water and strolled over to join me lakeside. He suggested that I dive in and have a swim. I told him I'd love to, but I politely declined as I didn't have a swimming costume nor a towel. Tom chuckled to himself and asked me to remove my hand from the lake. As soon as I removed my hand, drops of water flowed off of it, leaving my hand completely dry in an instant. It did not take me long to realize that you don't need bathers and a towel to have a swim in the spirit world. All you need is the water in which to swim. Irrespective of whether you can swim or not, Tom assured me that there was no need for me to remove my clothes, so I casually strolled into the lake, clothes and all. Naturally, I expected the usual effect of water on my skin and slowly walked into the lake until I was totally immersed in the most delightfully warm and invigorating water. The water, which felt alive to the touch, penetrated my clothes just as it would in a pool on earth, yet in no way did it weigh me down or hinder me. In fact, I soon forgot that I was clothed as I swam and frolicked in the lake to my heart's content. Surprisingly, the water, although it felt distinctly wet, felt indescribably different to the feeling of water washing over my body on earth. I soon discovered that I could swim in the usual earthly manner along the lake's surface, or I could swim beneath the surface for as long as I liked, comfortably at my own pace, without the need to surface in order to draw breath. Or I could simply float on top of the water for as long as I wished, without ever sinking. As soon as I had emerged from the lake, the water simply ran away from my body, leaving both me and my clothes nice and dry. The experience of swimming was not what I had expected. Afterward, I felt more than just clean and refreshed. Indeed, I felt euphoric, elated, ecstatic, all rolled into that extraordinary feeling. A short swim had electrified me, completely renewing and revitalizing me, the effect of which I loved and could clearly feel throughout my entire spirit body. I felt high as a kite for a considerable period of time. Speaking from first-hand experience, you won't ever crave alcohol or drugs when you're in the spirit world. Whenever spirit people are in the mood for a quick, uplifting buzz, they can just take a short swim in the spirit lake, and they're guaranteed to be more than satisfied with the wonderful high that they will feel. Nothing on earth compares, not even close. We continued walking along the delightfully soft grass path. In front of us in the distance, I saw what appeared to be a large city composed of many majestic buildings. I'd never have thought in my wildest imagination that cities exist here. A city, as far as I'm concerned, has all the hallmarks of a bustling, polluted, man-made creation. I asked Tom if we could skip the countryside and go directly to the city. Having lived in a large earthly city all my life, I was intrigued to see what a spirit city was all about. Tom told me that to the majority of newcomers, the existence of the countryside is fairly easy to accept, but most seem bemused at their first sighting of a city. Just like on Earth, people in the spirit world don't have all the same tastes. Some like the city and others like the country, and some like both, while the rest like neither. We continued walking in the direction of the city and talked in the beautiful air of the spirit world. Adorning both sides of the pathway, as far as the eye could see, existed a wide variety of vibrant and perfectly formed plant life. Many were blossoming with beautiful, colorful flowers. The flora seemed incredibly vibrant and very different to earthly flora. I had never seen such a wide variety of unusual plants before. Some of their colors, textures, and shapes and fragrances were literally out of this world. Tom explained many things along the way. He pointed out this and provided reasons for that, and gradually brought a better understanding to a young mind that had no knowledge of the spirit world. As we continued along the path to the city, I wondered if we were going to walk all the way. There was not a good road in sight, and the city was at least 10 kilometers away, possibly 20. Tom answered my question before I could ask, as if he was reading my mind. He told me that it stretched out for thousands and thousands of kilometers, but they don't require a transport system. Spirit people simply don't need one. In addition to walking, they all carry their own transport system around with them, by far the fastest and most efficient form of locomotion in the entire universe. Up until that point, I had relied on my 2 legs to move around, but little did I know that the time had come when I would be shown something of what spirit people can really do. Spirit people don't have cars or roads that lead them here and there, but they simply don't need them. They can choose to walk, or they can use the power of their thoughts to move around. Think of "beam me up, Scotty," and you'd be right on track. The idea of disappearing in one spot and instantly reappearing in another intrigued me, but I had no idea how to put the idea into action. I learned that it was a simple process of thinking that I wanted to be in a particular place. Most newcomers, I was told, have very little difficulty picking it up. All it takes is having the confidence, but the thought must be strong, not half-hearted. Wherever you wish to go, you will simply find yourself to be there, and there you shall find yourself instantly. At first, you may have to make a conscious effort, but it won't take long before you move around readily and easily as you wish, without consciously thinking about it. Tom went on to explain that the thought travel can be compared with the act of walking. Whenever you walk across a room, for example, you do not engage in a conscious thought process to walk across the room. The thought fleetingly passes through your mind that you want to walk across the room, and then you simply walk across the room. You do not give instructions to the muscles and tendons in your legs. Walking becomes second nature, and so it is by moving around using the power of your thoughts. You just think that you want to be in a particular place, and in an instant, you are there. In the spirit world, to think is to act, and thought is instantaneous. If I imagined myself at a certain place, I travel there faster than the speed of light. I traveled at the speed of thought, which was instantaneous. I soon found out that thought travel was the usual way of traveling long distances in the spirit world. Although for shorter distances, most spirit people, I was told, prefer to casually walk along the ground. If 2 or more people want to go to the same place together, and they all have the intention to go to the same place at the same time, When they all think of going there together, their thought processes will take charge of things, taking them to the destination of their choice. It doesn't take long for most people to become proficient at it, after which they have no difficulty moving long distances around the spirit world together. Tom assured me that nothing bad could happen when thought traveling, and that it would be impossible for me to get lost, no matter how far I traveled, for the mere thought of wanting to be back with him would reunite us instantly. With that in mind, I confidently suggested that I would like to try it for myself. Tom pointed to a hill about 1 kilometer or 2 to the right of us and proposed that I project myself on top of it. With Tom's reassuring words in mind, I gazed at the hill and imagined myself standing on top of it. Next thing I knew, I was there. I looked back down the hill at Tom and punched the air triumphantly. He waved at me, and then without a shadow of a doubt, I heard his voice clearly, as if he was standing next to me, even though he was at least 1 kilometer away. He said that he would be with me in a second. Then he simply disappeared from his position at the bottom of the hill and reappeared next to me at the top of it. Surprised and bewildered, I just looked at him in amazement. He said that it was just another example of the power of thought in the spiritual world. Spirit people can move around by the use of their thoughts. They're not restricted by gravity. They can choose to walk on the ground, or they can choose to move over the land by using the power of their thoughts, at any speed and in any direction they like, vertically, horizontally, or a combination of both. The spirit world appears just as solid to them as the physical world is to us, but they can choose to step outside the earthly limitation when it suits them, such as when they wish to thought travel long distances. The first time spirit people learn how to move around by means of their thoughts instead of their legs is a moment that they never forget. It becomes a major revolutionary event in their lives. I will never forget the experience. It made me suddenly realize just how powerful the mind can be. Spirit people are never far away from each other. Simply wishing to be with a friend will instantly bring you to him, no matter how great the distance. Or you can just send your thoughts and feelings to your friend whenever you wish. Whenever you focus a thought or a feeling upon another in the spirit world, it will instantly reach the intended recipient without fail. I asked Tom how it actually works, but he could not tell me. Just one of the many things that people in the spirit world take for granted. Whenever Tom could not provide reasons or explanations to any of my questions, he stated that the best he could do was simply describe the process, leaving the intricacies of how things work to the experts in such matters. Alternatively, I had questions for him that he chose not to answer, for it would leave me none the wiser at the time. Not that my intelligence was limited in any way, but because there was just so much more for me to learn before I would be able to understand his answer. Naturally, I needed to roughly understand what Tom was talking about before I had any hope of sufficiently comprehending it. Providing their thoughts are under their control, spirit people can keep their thoughts all to themselves, or they can share them exclusively with anyone they choose. If they let their thoughts roam in an uncontrolled manner, they can be read by others. It is important, therefore, to realize that thought is creative. In the spirit world, thoughts are concrete things in much the same way that objects are concrete things on earth. It is up to you to learn how to place your thoughts under your control. Most newcomers soon learn, often with the aid of specialist helpers, to change the way they think in order to adjust to the different living conditions in which they find themselves. Thank you for listening. If you have had an NDE that you would like to share, please email us at travelsinthespirit@gmail.com. Until next time, God bless.